Gautama Buddha once taught a powerful lesson. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village, there lived a young boy named Ravi. Ravi was known for his kindness and curiosity, always eager to learn and help others. But despite his good nature, Ravi often felt unhappy. He was constantly comparing himself to others in his village. He noticed that some of his friends were stronger, others were faster, and a few were even more talented in certain skills. One day, Ravi was sitting under a tree, feeling troubled. He thought to himself, "Why am I not as good as the others? No matter how hard I try, it seems like I'm always falling behind." His heart felt heavy, and he didn't know how to shake off the feeling. As he sat there, an old monk named Ananda happened to pass by. The monk was known for his wisdom, and people often sought his guidance when they were troubled. Noticing Ravi's sad expression, Ananda approached him and gently asked, "What's on your mind, young one?" Ravi looked up and sighed. "Oh, wise monk, I feel like I'm never good enough. I see others who are stronger, faster, or more talented than I am. No matter what I do, it feels like I'll never measure up." Ananda listened patiently and smiled kindly. "Ravi," he began, "let me share with you a story about two beautiful birds, the peacock and the swan. Maybe it will help you see things differently." Ananda continued, "As Buddha once reminded us, you, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Ravi was curious and nodded eagerly, settling in to listen. The tale of the peacock and the swan. Ananda began his story. In a forest not far from here, there lived a stunning peacock. His feathers were radiant, with colors that shimmered in the sunlight, blues, greens, and purples blending together beautifully. The peacock loved to show off his feathers and took pride in his appearance. Every creature in the forest admired him, and he was quite content. But one day, Ananda continued, the peacock saw a swan gliding gracefully across a nearby lake. The swan's feathers were pure white and soft, and its movements were gentle and serene. The swan looked peaceful and elegant, and the peacock felt a pang of envy. The monk leaned closer to Ravi and continued, "The peacock thought to himself, 'The swan is so pure and beautiful, and I am just a colorful bird. I may have bright feathers, but I lack the elegance of the swan. How wonderful it would be to be like the swan.' This thought started to make the peacock unhappy. So, the peacock went to the swan and said, 'Dear swan, I have always admired you. You are so pure and beautiful. I wish I were like you instead of just a bird with bright colors.' Ananda paused and then said, but the swan replied with a gentle smile, 'Peacock, you do not see your own beauty. Many creatures admire you for your colorful feathers. You have a beauty that is unique to you. I may be graceful and white, but I will never have the colors that you possess. Each of us is different, and each has our own unique qualities. We should appreciate what we have rather than wishing to be something else.' Ananda paused and added, 'As Gautama Buddha taught, it is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. Then the victory is yours.' The peacock thought about the swan's words and began to realize that his colorful feathers were his own special gift. Instead of wishing to be like the swan, he decided to embrace his own beauty. From that day on, he stopped comparing himself to others and found happiness in being himself." The monk's wisdom on self-worth. Ananda looked at Ravi and said, "You see, young one, the peacock and the swan each had their own unique qualities. Just like them, every person has their own strengths and abilities. Comparing ourselves to others only takes away our joy and blinds us to our own gifts." "But why do we compare ourselves?" Ravi asked, still curious. Ananda nodded thoughtfully and replied, We often compare ourselves because we mistakenly believe that someone else's abilities or possessions make them more valuable. But Gautama Buddha taught, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. True worth does not come from what we have or what we can do compared to others. True worth comes from understanding that each of us has something unique to offer the world. Ravi thought about this for a moment. So I should focus on my own strengths instead of looking at what others have? Exactly, said Ananda with a warm nod. As Buddha wisely shared, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. When we focus on our own path and celebrate our own achievements, we can find real happiness. Just like a flower does not compare itself to another flower, it simply blooms in its own way, bringing its own unique beauty into the world. Ananda continued after a pause. Remember this, young one. In the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. When we let go of comparisons and focus on our own qualities, we find true peace. Finding happiness in one's own path. Ananda then asked Ravi, "What is it that you enjoy doing, young one?" Ravi thought for a moment and said, "I enjoy helping others. It makes me feel happy when I can make someone smile or lend a helping hand." That is a wonderful quality, Ananda said with a warm smile. Your kindness and willingness to help are valuable gifts. Not everyone has that strength. He added, Gautama Buddha once said, "Thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened." When you embrace these qualities and focus on making them even stronger, you will find joy and peace within yourself. Ravi nodded, understanding the monk's words. He realized that by constantly comparing himself to others, he had overlooked his own strengths and the happiness he found in being kind. He decided from that day forward, he would focus on his own unique qualities rather than wishing to be like someone else. Ananda continued, Remember, Ravi, Gautama Buddha said, "You are what you think. All that you are arises from your thoughts. With your thoughts, you make the world." Life is like a garden filled with many different flowers. Each flower has its own beauty, its own scent, and its own purpose. No flower tries to be like another. Instead, it simply blooms in its own way. You are like a flower in this world, with a unique purpose and beauty. By comparing yourself, you only create sadness in your heart. The path to self-worth and inner peace. Over the next few days, Ravi practiced what the monk had taught him. Whenever he felt the urge to compare himself to others, he reminded himself of the peacock and the swan. He focused on his strengths and tried to find joy in his own qualities. One day, as he was helping an elderly neighbor carry water from the well, he felt a deep sense of happiness. He realized that his kindness and helpful nature were things that made him truly unique. The smiles he received in return filled his heart with joy and peace. As Gautama Buddha wisely taught, happiness does not depend on what you have or who you are. It solely relies on what you think. Ravi's life changed as he continued to focus on his own path. He no longer felt the need to measure himself against others. Instead, he learned to appreciate the unique qualities he possessed and found happiness in being true to himself. The villagers noticed this change in Ravi and admired him for his kindness, self-confidence, and contentment. They often sought his help and advice, and he became known as a wise and caring young man. One evening, as the sun was setting, Ravi sat under the same tree where he had first spoken to Ananda. He felt peaceful and happy, content with who he was. Just then, Ananda walked by and smiled at him. "Ah, I see peace in your heart, young one," the monk said. Ravi nodded. "Thank you, wise monk. Your story of the peacock and the swan taught me that true happiness comes from within. I have learned to stop comparing myself to others and instead embrace my own strengths." Ananda placed a gentle hand on Ravi's shoulder and said, Gautama Buddha once said, "What we think, we become." You have understood well, Ravi. Remember, you are enough just as you are. When you accept and love yourself, you become free from the burden of comparison. Moral of the story. The tale of the peacock and the swan reminds us of the profound importance of valuing our own unique qualities. Each of us has strengths and gifts that make us special. Yet, when we compare ourselves to others, we often lose sight of our own worth and diminish the beauty of what makes us. As Gautama Buddha wisely taught, do not compare yourself with others, for if you do so, you are insulting yourself. True happiness arises from within, from embracing our strengths, loving ourselves, and recognizing the gifts we bring to the world. Buddha also reminded us, you, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. By focusing on our own path and letting go of unnecessary comparisons, we can cultivate inner peace and self-acceptance. As he so beautifully said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. If this story inspired you, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Tell us in the comments, what's a unique quality you've embraced about yourself? Subscribe to our channel for more timeless stories and life lessons. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos. Thank you for joining us on this journey to self-worth and inner peace.